Hello, I'm Pamela Davis. Welcome to episode 201 of the Well Done Life podcast. Hello, and welcome back to episode 201 of the Well Done Life podcast. I'm your host, Pamela Davis. If you are new here, hey, how are you? Welcome. I am so glad that you're here. I hope that you will stay for a very long time and bring lots of friends. And if you guys have been here before, you know the deal. I love you deep. Thank you so much for continuing to rock with me. Your support and encouragement gives me the strength to keep going, and I really appreciate it. So welcome. And again, bring friends. The more the party, the better. Before we get started with this week's episode, I like to be really foundational. For those of you that have been listening for a while, I'm sure you could recite this with me, but it's really important to make sure that we understand that this space is a very safe space. And with it being a safe space, I like to treat it like a house. And so I want to make sure that our foundation is strong. And that means that our foundation is built on very strong materials. And those two materials are clarity and love. Clarity is really straightforward. I just like to make sure that you understand that this space is for women. I believe in the power of women. I believe in women sharing our stories so that we could be the best versions of ourselves. I want you to avoid some of the pitfalls that I've made. And hopefully I'll inspire you by the things that I've overcome, as well as things that I've been able to accomplish. And then I also like to spotlight other women who are doing amazing things in their community, because I want to show you that there is nothing that you can't do when you put your mind to it, that you can overcome, that you can build, that you can grow, and how when we are transparent, when we share our stories, that is where healing, that is where greatness happens. So hopefully you'll be inspired and you'll stick around and start sharing your story and building the same type of energy in your own community, in your own home as well. So welcome to the Well Done Life. And then that leads me into my second tenet. It's my favorite tenet. I'm a sucker for love, and I love love, and love is the thing. So yes, love is the foundation of everything that we do here within this space. And with that, it is very important to me that before I talk about anything, I have to send my love to you. I have to give you some of my love. And I like to give my love through prayer, because I truly believe that I'm not the only one out here praying for the goodness of others, and that I believe that my prayers are magnified by you. And that way, you know, when two or more come into agreement, great things happen. So I like to send prayers every week. This week, I really want to send you prayers of peace. I'm always sending prayers of peace. Like, let me just be true and transparent about that. Like, I think we need peace all the time. But this week, I want to send you peace of, just knowledge of going into this next season, because now that by the time you're listening to this is the first Sunday in November. We are literally in the last few months of 2024, and it has been such a whirlwind. I mean, we are a few days away from the election. It has been insane, and it has been beautiful and ugly and traumatic, all in so many things. This year has been. And so I want to make sure that I'm sending you peace, that hopefully you're good with where you are. And if you're not good with where you are in life, or in just whatever you're going through, whatever you're trying to work out, I hope that you know that there's still time. You're going to make it. You don't give up right now. In the seasons where it feels its hardest, that's where it's just, you're close. And so you don't want to give up. Before it comes to pass, believe in yourself. I believe in you. Believe me, I know what it's like when you feel like you're not where you want to be. But sometimes you have to lean into the moment. Sometimes you have to lean into the gratitude of the season that you're in, because this is temporary. A lot of these things that we're facing are temporary, and they will get better. We just have to keep pursuing, stay consistent, be about you, be about your business, and go forward. So I'm sending you prayers of peace, of being happy and satisfied with where you are, and peace with the knowledge to forgive yourself if you're not satisfied with where you are. You still have time. Great things can happen. Don't give up on you. And along that line of peace, I'm also sending you lines of clarity. It's really important because, again, and I've said this all the time, you can't really, know where you're going, know what you need to do if you're not clear. Search your heart, let go of the things that may be weighing you down. Sometimes I think going into the holidays, it can be tough because emotions run high. Not everybody has a good holiday season. And so it's easy to carry different weights with you. Try to see what weights you can let go of. Try to see what you can give yourself grace about. Don't always have to focus on being everything to everybody. Focus on being what you can be and be everything to you for once. So I definitely want to make sure you have that. Be clear about that because you need to understand that you are always going to be the most important person in this. Believe me, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Mothers, women, we set the tone in the home. And so when we are not well within ourselves, when we are not our best, everyone feels it. So get clear about what you need, what you're feeling, and go forth because we need you. And then along that line, I'm also sending prayers of prosperity. I always believe in prosperity. I always send it to you anyway. I want you to be prosperous in your mind, body, spirit, and soul. But I do want to send a special prayer about it because, Lord, I don't know about y'all, but I'm trying to rebuke the spirit of eating everything possible so that I can just keep unbigging my back. That's like the terminology about trying to lose weight or manage our health. I'm just sending prayers of prosperity in regards to focusing on our health, being the best versions of ourselves. Because, the holiday time is the busy time and the crazy time. And it's, like I said, a high season of emotionality due to the election is stressful. And I don't know about you guys, but I am a recovering emotional eater. So I am just hopeful that you will, just focus on your health, focus on being gentle with your body and your spirit. But like I said, being prosperous in those areas also in regards to finance and mental health, because I want you blessed. I want you blessed on all levels because you can be a blessing to yourself and to other people, and you deserve it. I mean, that's the thing. It comes a point in our lives where we have to understand that we deserve abundance. We deserve blessings. God didn't put us here for a season of lack to last forever. That's not how it's supposed to be. So, be prosperous in your thoughts as well. Speak abundance, speak life about yourself. Make the vision, as they say, write the vision and make it plain. Be very clear about your expectations. Go boldly before God is what they say as well. You want that abundance in all areas. You deserve it. And I hope that you will get it. And then rounding out my prayers this week, of course, I'm always going to send you love. Yes, lots of love. I want you to feel love from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. And I want it to be good, reciprocal love because you deserve that too. I had someone reach out to me recently about talking about love on the podcast. And I told her I would. And I am. I'm going to put an episode together about love because, I've been talking about how I'm in love and I'm very happy. I'm really happy in the love. But love takes work. It does. It is definitely a labor of love to cultivate good, real love. And I want that for you. I want that for all of us because we deserve that. And it's time for us to step into the season of getting what we deserve. And so, yes, we're going to talk about love, but I'm sending you love, good reciprocal love. I am believing that you will have someone who will love you deep and be kind and considerate to you. And yes, we will have more of conversations about love, probably going into 2025, I think. Yeah, I think 2025 is a good time to talk about love. Not saying that we won't talk about it now, but I just want to make sure I say that. So for the young lady who wrote to me, I want you to know I heard you and I feel you and I'm sending prayers to you because I want you to be blessed with love. It is hard when love hurts, but it doesn't always have to hurt. I want you to make sure that you keep your heart open because when you least expect it, that's when the love that you need can come in. So those are my prayers for everyone this week. I hope you feel my energy and know that I love you deep and I care for you. I'm really excited to be recording on Wednesday, October the 30th at 10:32 p.m. Yeah, a little late, but it's been a busy week. And I just wanted to make sure I sat down and took some time to talk to you guys because I love y'all. We got to end this month out right, start this next month off right with a good episode. And I have an amazing guest for you. I cannot wait to share our conversation. But before I dive into that, that, I want to thank everyone for their support of episode 200. Yes, we celebrated 200 pods over here. I'm so excited, and Never Would Have Made It is live. If you have not taken a chance to listen to it, please do, because it really is an opportunity, hopefully, for me to share a little bit of the journey to how I got here, because ultimately it was about you guys. You guys are the wind beneath my wings. But it also is about facing yourself to understand that in order to do sometimes the things that scare you, you have to get really serious about it, and you have to get consistent. You know, everyone always asks, how do you get to a certain point? How do you accomplish 200 episodes or what have you? And I'm not going to lie, it's consistency. Do I record every day, every week? Sometimes no. As you guys have seen, I've been taking more breaks now. It's just because emotionally, I feel like that's what I need. Physically, that's what I need. And I'm not going to deny myself, but I'm always going to come back, and I'm always going to engage because I want to be consistent. I want to be here. And it's like you have to get to the point where you recognize that this is what you want to do and you want to be here. And so that really is the key. So check it out if you need a little bit more inspiration, because I know that there are a few of you out there who may be listening to this right now who are contemplating getting out in the content creation space or podcasting. And the best advice that I can give you is focus on the heart of the people and be consistent. And I'll give you some other nuggets as well. So I hope you'll take a listen to the episode. I'll make sure the link is in the show notes. But like I said, this week we have a guest, and I'm very excited to have a chance to share her with you. My guest for this week is Arlene Blake. She is the founder and CEO of Women on the Rise International, and it is an organization that she has put together for the betterment of women. And I had the pleasure of attending her gala this year for the first time. And it was amazing. It was actually just what I needed, because I had just come back from memorial service for my brother. And I needed a reminder in that moment as to, why I'm going hard, why I am so passionate about women. Because I just was in my head and in my feelings. And just to see the love that she pours into these ladies, the knowledge to helping them be able to advance in their careers. And when she does that, she gives them space where she can help them, if they have children, providing childcare. There's just so many wonderful things that Women on the Rise does to help elevate women, and here in the Orlando area and beyond. So I wanted to make sure that I sat down with her, because I was so inspired by the love, by the faith, by the strength that was in the room that night at the gala, that I had to have her. So I am very excited to present Arlene Blake to you. So if you will sit back, relax, grab a glass of water, grab a mimosa, because I know it's Sunday morning. Maybe you're in the mood for a mimosa, some tea, coffee, what have you. She will be with you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone. My name is Arlene Blake. I am the founder and executive director of Women on the Rise International Incorporated. We are a 501c3 nonprofit women's empowerment organization. And I am a mom to an amazing little guy who I absolutely adore. So that's me. Nice to meet you all.
Yes. Well, it is a pleasure to have you. So, ma'am, woman extraordinaire, Woman on the Rise, founder and CEO. How are you feeling today?
Today, I'm feeling good. I have become very intentional about how I schedule my days, and I make sure they are not like loaded up with too many things at any given point, so that I'm able to breathe as I accomplish tasks. So sometimes I might be rushing myself, but I'm able to actually take a deep breath and recognize that I don't have to really rush. So with that being said, I'm doing all right. I'm coasting at a pace that I'm comfortable with.
I'm very excited to hear that, because with the amount of things that you do, ma'am, in the community and in life, I'm very excited, because I don't have as much of a schedule as you do. And I am feeling overwhelmed today. So this is actually settling me. So thank you. I admire, this is grace under poise all the time. Do you always feel this way?
I do not feel like this on event days.
Oh, I can understand.
Quite a lot of events, but on the days when an event is not happening, I'm able to be at a little more peace. So yeah,
I totally get that. I kind of want to start with obviously a little background, a little foundation. I have to, but I was just curious because again, it's just been such a season. And I felt like I couldn't even start by asking you, like, literally, how are you doing? Like, ma'am, we just survived a hurricane and all kinds of stuff. So I just wanted to make sure I checked in. So I'm glad that you're good.
I appreciate that. Like, we actually had a cohort session last night, and we had each of the ladies to address how they are feeling, and they were able to use the analogy of weather, like a hurricane. I'm feeling like a sunny day, I'm like a gloomy day, whatever it might be. And it was really interesting to see all the different perspectives in the room, right? And for me, I'm definitely living a glass half full life at this point. But I recognize we didn't receive any damage from the hurricane. There was no flooding. My power didn't go out. I mean, hallelujah, praise God.
Amen.
Right? Yes. Even though, right, like all of our events got canceled, I'm like losing my mind trying to reschedule everything, all these different things that happened. All of the events that I've been looking forward to for like the last 3 months got canceled. Yeah. But praise God, I had no damage to my home, right? And I'm able to celebrate and be happy in that. So it's all about perspective.
Absolutely. And I have to admit that kind of leads me into another question, and probably one of my first foundational questions. Your perspective is so strong. Have you always had a solid perspective about like your life and how you wanted to navigate? Because we're going to talk about it, but I have to admit, just from seeing you in action, I'm so inspired by how you really pour into women. So that was one of the reasons, like I told you, I had to have you here. So I want to get to it. Let's get to it. Have you always had that perspective?
So that's a great question. And what I will say is that I think I've had elements of it, but I didn't always have it all the way. So like I was looking back, I have a binder that I keep that has all of the certificates that I've earned since elementary school.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yes. I haven't been putting like, the last 20 years or so in there, but the first half of my life is in this binder. That's awesome. It has like little protective sleeves and everything. And so there was this letter that one of my elementary school teachers wrote, and I don't know if I was like entering into some kind of honors program. So she wrote a letter of recommendation for me. And it was saying that, Arlene possesses the ability to gently guide others, while still leading them. And that was interesting for someone to write that about me in elementary school, right? Yeah. Like I was a little leader back then, but I was always able to identify potential in individuals and to help build that. And help to show them that they could build that. And so that was definitely one of those innate skills that I had early on. Now, what I will tell you as far as like my positive disposition, that definitely came after the loss of both of my parents and going through therapy. And I went through a very dark period during that time. And then there was another situation in a relationship. I went through another dark time. What I will tell you, I learned from both of those situations, I would not find myself in that dark space again. When you're able to identify the triggers, you know what to stay away from, back away from, when those emotions are coming, and you know how to nip them in the bud. And that's how I manage, right? And then I'm able to pour into others and to celebrate others regardless of what my personal situation is because of those things that I've gone through.
I love that. And I think obviously always our personal lives, the things that we've made through have shaped us. And losing your parents is one of the most traumatic things I can only imagine. Looking back at that time, like you said, it was something through therapy that you were able to find. How have you turned your tragedy into your triumph? Like, how does it fuel you to be who you are right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me step back and talk about the therapy for one moment, because someone recognized me earlier this week, and she was like, "Did you go to so-and-so for therapy? Because your story sounds familiar." So I've given permission to a former therapist to share my story. So she has a women's therapy group. Okay. I did the one-on-one therapy. It's great, right? But I am
Hmm.
that kind of person. I don't want to talk about how that made me feel. I
Yeah.
want some solid ideas, tools, resources that I can use to improve my current state of mind, right? I
Hmm.
want to be taught, I want to learn. And so in this therapy group, we received all of that. We met like, let's say once a week for 2 to 3 hours for like, let's say a period of 10 weeks. And I remember walking into that space and meeting these other ladies who were very well put together, right? And I had had some female trauma, especially from college and even in high school, where I didn't necessarily feel like I could always be my most authentic self and
Hmm.
feel safe, right? And so in this space, these ladies began to go around the room and they were sharing their stories, and I immediately recognized and all the things that I had been going through, right? The loss of
Hmm.
my parents, failed relationship, being on the chopping block at my job.
Yeah.
I wasn't the only person going through that. And when I recognized I was not alone in all of these things, I was able to begin my healing process. Because before that, I felt like it's only happening to me. The world is
Hmm.
just
Yeah.
falling in on me. And I was able to really just become a light for the other women during this process as well. Like that real true Arlene from a child like really came out. And so that really allowed for me to step into a space where I was now able to take that same model and bring it to other women in the community. That group effect of us coming together and
Yeah.
being very vulnerable and safe space, there is power in that. And I also was a person who did not share my personal business before. But I also recognized that by me sharing my story, by me being vulnerable, it was allowing for
Yes.
other people to be able to step out and be true to who they were and to begin to make changes. And so for the fact that I was able to have that impact on someone else, it keeps me going. Because I may have lost my parents, right? And they were my number one cheerleaders. But if I can be that for someone else, then I am still serving a purpose here. And I am huge about purpose, right? Like we are all on this earth and we're not here just to take up space. We are here to make an impact. We are here to do
Hmm.
God's work. We are here to serve, each other, serve mankind. And so that is me doing my part.
I love it. And when you talk about it, you are so passionate. Like I feel you, I see you, I see the light of God through you. So I know that it's something rooted inside of you. How do you protect it?
Ooh, that's a good question. There's moments where I am not so great at protecting it, but I made a choice not to. So like let's say
Hmm.
I might not be at my best mentally in the moment, right? Like I might be feeling a little down. For example, last week, Thursday, was actually my mother's birthday.
Yeah.
And that is still
Hmm.
a sore time. Not every year, is it? Because it's been 14 years now. Actually, no, it's 14 years for my father. Yeah, 14 years for my mom. Um, it is still a very like difficult time, but it's not that way every year.
Hmm.
But I have some individuals who are going through some things in their life and they need a sounding board.
Hmm.
And even though I know what I'm going through, I don't want them to be alone in that moment. I might just restrict how long the conversation goes on.
Hmm. That's fair.
Um, but I do my best not to personally digest it. Like I'm
Yeah.
not going to have it weighing on my chest. So I'm that person who will listen. I will offer advice if you're okay with it because I like to get permission. Yeah.
I get that. I don't always get permission, so I admire that.
That's what that looks like. Now, I will say there was recently someone who shared with me that her parent had passed away of the same thing my mom passed away from. And that was a trigger
Yeah.
like nobody's business. And I had not
Mhm.
experienced someone's personal situation triggering me in that way. And I was like, darling, I am so sorry that it's taking me a moment to like respond back to you. But I'm not going to lie, I'm triggered and I have cried and I have cried. And this is not typical of me, right? And so I have to sometimes step back and just let the person know, because I absolutely hate an avoidance behavior where a person just never says anything. Like, I don't even understand that type of mentality.
Mhm.
So I at least made sure I shared that with her. And so she respected that, recognized that. And she was like, I don't mean to. I was like, there's no need to apologize. I just want to let you know where I'm at. I'm praying for you. I'm so sorry this has happened. Like, I just had to at least say that.
I admire that because a lot of times, especially as women in powerful positions or running organizations, you feel that cover to not share your emotions, to not admit when you are just not at your best. And I love the fact that you're breaking that, because I think that to me is where people become more endeared to you. Like, I'm more endeared by the fact that if you are going through, you're going to admit it. It might not affect how we're going to navigate. It doesn't stop anything, but at least you give space and honor to that. Because if you can give space and honor to yourself, that's a clear indication that you can give space and honor to other people.
Absolutely.
So totally love that you do that. And I love how you are utilizing your tragedy, your grief to help you help other women. I kind of feel like your organization, Women on the Rise, you guys are like this friend clique. Like, this is the clique. This is the friend clique where you come in, girl, I take you under my wing. I can help you level up in your career. I can help you level up in your life personally. I'm going to help you be the best mom and person overall that you can be. Was that always the vision that you had for Women on the Rise? Or is that something that Women in the Rise has kind of evolved to?
Women on the Rise is definitely something that is ever evolving, right? Yeah. And so when I first got started, it was the idea of creating just one singular event that was meant to be just an empowerment space for women to come together and to have some conversations that would, push us all forward. And after that first event, people kept coming to me asking, well, when's the next one? Or how do I get more involved? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I hadn't thought about that. And so then that left me with, let me come up with some additional event concepts. And so started doing that. And then people asking about getting involved. So then we created like this, what we call the Diva Squad, where we were helping to plan the details around the event. And then from there, people started asking about membership. Like, how do I do that? And I'm like, what do you mean membership? Right. And I had to do some research around that. And we became founded as a 501c3 in July of 2016. We did our first event though in March of 2016.
Okay.
We established membership December 31st of 2016. And the first member that actually registered to be a part of Women on the Rise, she is still a member of our organization, although it was many years ago. And so that has been amazing. And there have been women who have come and gone over the years, and they're still part of our Women on the Rise family. And so it's almost like a family reunion sometimes when I'll see people who I haven't seen in years that might have served in some way, shape, or form within the organization. And it's always love, right? Yeah. And sometimes we move away from things because it might not serve us at that time, right? Life changes or our capacity changes, because we do a lot of work within our organization. We are not only pouring into one another and pouring into ourselves, but we're also serving the community. Like last night, we had our Women on the Rise career development cohort, and we had members who were volunteering their time, and are volunteering their time every week to make that happen. And some of the ladies that are part of the program have never heard of Women on the Rise before. Like, these are not ladies that were members of our organization. These are women within the community who we are serving, right? And that is huge, but they become a part of this community. And so that's ever building, ever evolving. And the career development cohort, that evolved out of us seeing that in a program that we have called Educated and Broke, where we are empowering women in financial literacy, career development, and entrepreneurship. When we were doing these workshops, we were seeing everybody excited about all the information they were taking in, but we weren't seeing them actually implement things. And so we weren't seeing the intended impact. And we were like, you know what? We really have to start doing this in a cohort format, because we need to be able to track accountability. We need to make sure week after week they are actually doing this work.
Right.
Have the successes that they set out for themselves. Right. And so that is how we came upon that. So again, everything is just constantly evolving. When we first started off with doing events, it wasn't the 4 core pillars that we have right now: career development, entrepreneurship, personal wellness, financial literacy. We start to identify what we were seeing that was really important to those who were attending our events, what was being well received, and what those constant trends and what we were teaching, because our nonprofit is based in education. So everything that we're doing is meant to educate women. And so based off of that, we were able to, again, evolve and identify those 4 core pillars. So I am okay with change. And sometimes people don't like to say, like, Arlene, I think we should change this. I'm like, listen, I am a servant leader. I love to hear different ideas, see how we can implement it. Now, I am also a logistics person. You can come up with a great idea, but you also need to come up with an idea on how it's supposed to happen, how we're supposed to implement it, right? So there's that.
I love that, because you have to. I love the growth. I love how you like surrendered. It's like you're a servant to it and to what the women want. And to your point, you're right. Come up with a great idea, but I need you to come in here. You're going to get the logistics. I need your labor, your effort, energy.
Help you.
Exactly. That's really what it is. It's a team project. Like it's not just one-sided. So I totally get that. That then leads me to a question. With you as the leader, as the founder, the director, and obviously you're evolving and growing yourself. How do you see that affecting how Women on the Rise evolves and grows with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just important that the culture of the organization stays very authentic. Like, part of what is meant to happen is for everyone to always feel encouraged, empowered, to feel safe in a space where they can be vulnerable. I don't like cattiness. I don't like individuals talking about one another. I don't like feeling like you have to wear a mask and some kind of facade and hide behind it. I don't feel like you should ever be feeling like you have to compete, right? To where you might not show up because maybe you haven't accomplished A, B, and C that you originally said you were going to do and it's not panning out. There's no shame in that, right? Like, we all have done things. We've all failed. We learn from failures, right? A relationship goes wrong, right? So what? Bring your tail over here and we'll have a cocktail to it, right? Like, it's not the place to feel shame. And so I think as we grow, I just want to make sure that same culture stays true. Because we've tried, going into other spaces or other, areas of the state and so forth. And that same energy doesn't always exist. And so I want to make sure that as we grow and expand, that everyone understands this is the culture and they abide and live by that, right?
Yes.
Because it takes a healed person to be able to understand that space and to be able to respect that space. And so I always will say, this is not a space for everyone, because you do have to be at that place in your life.
I love that, because I agree. And I like how that is your non-negotiable, because I have the same thoughts, as someone getting to build more space for women. You're right. Like, you have to have your non-negotiables. You have to understand that there are certain things you are not going to skimp on. And that is one of the things, because that vibe that you have, I agree. Your vibe is everything.
No.
I do, because I talked about it on a podcast, because when I first went to one of the first event I've ever been to for Women on the Rise was the gala. And it was everything I needed in that moment, because I had just come back from burying my brother and I was just in a very funky place and I just wasn't feeling it. But I was like, I really want to go. And I'm so glad I went because it pulled me out of my shell. It showed me why I want to continue to push the way I do. It showed me how passionate you are and how supported your space is. That's one of the things I love about Women on the Rise. Like, if you were to say, out of everything that you've done and everything that you have created with Women on the Rise, what is the one thing that you are the most proud of in regards to this organization, this group?
I'm going to give two things.
Okay.
One, I think seeing the impact that it's had on the women that it has served,
Mm-hmm.
And the relationships, right, that have been created from that. That is what I'm most proud of.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing that I am most proud of is my son seeing me in this element. I'm actually going to post this later on today, but we did a community service activity with TGI, which is the Greatest Investment Girls Empowerment Program, for those who don't know. And we did an activity with them this past Monday or earlier this week. And we did a group picture with the ladies behind us and Women on the Rise members in the front. And he sat on my lap. He was with me. And so I'm showing him a picture from 2017 when he was only 5 months old, where we took a very similar picture because we were volunteering with TGI. Our lady sat in the front row, the girls were behind us, and guess who was on my lap? My baby at 5 months old. And I was like, he had been in this with me from the beginning. And I remember, not only does it make me proud for him to see me in this space, it helps other women to be able to see me with my little person in this space, because it allows for them to know that just because they have a child or children does not mean they can't be invested in their community. Does not mean they can't come in here and pour and invest in themselves, right? Like, you can still get out here and do this. We can do something with these kids. They'll be all right. Come on. Right? And so that is part of the culture that we have created as well.
I love that in particular, because that's one of the things that I first saw at your gala, the kids, because I bought that lemonade. I had to. The way that those babies were just like set up and organized and talking to me about it, I was like, I have to. If I don't buy anything else, I'm getting some lemonade. I'm going to buy a couple of lemonades. I'm not going to drink a couple, but I'm going to buy a couple. And because they were just so sweet and so thoroughly invested in this. And I love that. And I love that your son gets to see you in that capacity. Because I hate to say it, sometimes, like you said, children don't get a chance to see their mothers, or mothers don't get a chance to do those things because they're afraid. And you don't hold yourself back. Really, do you think about that? Like, do you ever feel like you've ever placed limits on yourself? Because I'm going to be honest, it doesn't seem to me like you hold yourself back. And I'm very envious of that. Like, how do you do that?
I will say I have my own struggles, right? Like, this is purpose for me, right? And my purpose is taking care of me, but I had always envisioned myself having a slightly different career. And at times I have aspirations to still have that career. And so I struggle with that, right? Like, do I focus on what I have envisioned for myself and my career and my earning potential to take care of my family? Or do I stay in this space of being in nonprofit, right? And continue to serve my community? And at some point, does it grow beyond my leadership, right? And I feel as though that is to come. I feel like I'm just responsible for getting some of those foundational elements, funding, to help make that happen, right? And for us, I think that's going to be some social enterprise that is going to allow for us to have very consistent revenue that will allow for our organization to be self-sustaining and to do its work and to hire the staff that it really needs in order to sustain what we're doing. And at that point, that I feel like I can truly focus on getting myself in a space that I need to be in to fully support my siblings and my little one, because I have two brothers. A lot of people don't know that.
Oh
I
no.
have an older brother who is 7.5 years older than me, who I grew up with. And then I have a little brother who is 18 years younger than I. And we are
Oh, wow.
all my mother's children.
Okay.
And so my little brother, that's my baby, right? And so when my mom passed, she asked for me to serve as that mother figure to him. And so I am always calling him up on his tail, but I want to be able to support them in a way that a parent would, whether it's, jumping in and financially helping. And I need to be in a position to be able to readily do that. I do it to an extent now, but not in the way that I want. And so that is a goal for me personally. And so sometimes my goals get blended and I need to have those separate goals and really focus on some of my passions.
I get it, because it is a tight walk. I would love to, like, everyone sometimes think, oh, you have nonprofits, or you're a content creator or podcaster. You must do that as your full-time job. And some instances, yes, but in some instances, no. You're right. You have split life. I have a corporate life, and then I have this life. So I totally get how you're feeling and how you balance it all.
I have to say something on that. So that's great to know. And here's what my call to action for women, especially in the content creation space, is be transparent and share. Like, I also do this and I do this, right? Yeah. And the reason why I say that is I'm seeing so many women come forth and that's what they want to do full time. And they think that they just have to quit their job, which I don't agree with.
Me, the girl.
Go full time in this, give it their full focus. And I'm like, sweetie, if you want to pay your bills and have consistent income, then you need to do both at the same time, right? Yes. And they don't recognize that for many people, their story is not that they are just doing that one thing. They are doing multiple things.
Yes.
And so my call to action is for more women to be very transparent on what that looks like for them, so that people can understand that we're balancing multiple things. Like, I have multiple streams of income myself, right? Like, we have to be clear about that. What does that look like? What amount of time does that take? Because that does not allow for me to have weekends where I'm not working. That does not allow for me to go to bed always with a clear mind, right? Like, the hustle is real.
Yes, and amen.
More people have to understand what that looks like as they're making life decisions, because there's a lot of people who quit jobs and then they're like, okay, I need to go back to corporate America. And now they're finding it very difficult to find another job, right?
Yes.
They're letting people go left and right. AI is taking a lot of jobs. Yep. And companies they're going lighter, right? Like, they are like, we don't need this. We're going to cut that. And they're always doing this. Yeah. And so we just need more people to be a little more strategic and pay a little more attention to what's really happening with those who they idolize, and ask those questions. And then for more people to be more transparent.
Totally agree with that. And unfortunately, I'm very familiar with that trope, because from being in the content creation space, I've been in this game for a minute. Like, everybody's like, oh, you built this. I built this podcast over 5 years. We're almost 5 years into the game. And I just did my first event. And I would love everyone to think like, oh, I had a ton of sponsors who helped me put that together. No, I footed that out of pocket.
Yeah.
I footed that out of pocket. And so if you don't have a lot of these events nonprofits, I totally get it. Like, people don't understand that's nonprofit. That means that it's not a for-profit enterprise. This is a charitable enterprise. So it takes resources, it takes teams, it takes sacrifices to do any of this. I totally agree. Yes, you have to have balance. It is not for the weak. It is not for the weak.
It's not. And the same with me. Like, the first however many years, I was personally investing my own dollars, like $10,000 to do an event out of my own bank account, right? And I think there was a period of time where we even had like a loan that I gave to the organization that still needed to be paid back. And it was great when we got to a point to where we were able to write that check and give me my little money back, because I was waiting. I was counting down the days. Listen, I know my money. I want my money. And
Right.
so and I've had to become more strategic even now to where like
Yeah.
some events that people love, I'm like, you know what? I love doing that event for you all. It is very fulfilling and I'm glad you enjoyed it. But if we do not get sponsorship dollars to help make this more affordable to you, we're not doing the event. Because the cost of what, and you know this now from doing your first event, right?
Yes.
The cost of what it takes to do these events, we don't ever charge everybody what it really costs, right?
Mm-mm. No.
We try to supplement it, whatever we have to do, but they never pay the actual cost of the event.
No.
And I don't think until people actually do their own, do they recognize what that looks like? And then you have more respect for it, right? So
Absolutely. Yeah, it is not for the weak. So like going to your gala, seeing what I saw, I was like, oh yeah, she's hustling. Cause I don't know how big your team is and how it is, but honey, for mine, I have the team of two. It was a team of two people. The day before, the speakers, had my cousin drive from North Carolina to help me. Like, you got to get resources where you can to get these things done. So I'm saying all that because I want everyone to understand that for you to do what you are doing consecutively for women and putting money out of your pocket, out of your family, because as we have all heard, you have a family.
yeah.
That shows your dedication to Women on the Rise. That shows your dedication to helping women advance. And so I want everybody to hear that and understand that, because that means we need to support you. And we need to throw our arms around each other. There's enough space out here for all of us. That was why I was like, I have to interview, because I've seen it live and in action. I follow, I researched, I watched, and I've been watching for a while on the side because and so I see it. I see what you're doing. And yeah, I will 100% support you in any way I can, because I believe in what you're doing. You are creating actionable change for women, and we need it.
Yeah.
We need it.
And I think also in our community, we just have to get more people to get outside of their own personal ego.
Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. And really drive impact beyond whether someone is in the same organization as you or go to the same church or come from the same community. Like, we just have to all jump in this together. And the same things that were, trauma related for me and dealing with women when I was in college and high school are the same things that still exist at this age. Right. And I've met enough women who have felt the same things, and we're able to create this space together. But I do recognize that those other spaces still exist, and there's still those same mentalities, and people will die still having those same mindsets, right?
Right.
The goal is to be able to reach as many people with this messaging of what sisterhood looks like, and how we can really support each other, and how we can fellowship together, how we can create safe spaces that are beneficial both to you and to your community. Because I don't think it should ever be, me coming and just with my hands out looking for what you can give to me, right? What can I get from this? It should be, how can I invest my time? How can I serve? And someone asked me recently, like, have you always served and volunteered? And I'm thinking, you know what? Let me tell you where that started, because I didn't grow up that way. Right. Volunteering was not something that I knew of until I went to high school. I went to Paxton School for Advanced Studies in Jacksonville, Florida. And part of our requirement to graduate was to do 100 community service hours. And so whatever was required of Florida Bright Futures to graduate basically was part of our graduation, or not for Bright Futures graduation, to get a scholarship through Bright Futures. Whatever was required became our graduation guidelines. And so I started volunteering. I think it was the Boys and Girls Club in United Way. And I was like, I like serving. I like doing this. And the kids were always so much fun to work with. Girl, they used to drive me ragged, but it was fun at the same time. And I started getting involved in things. So then I go over to UCF. That's where I went to for college. My degree was legal studies, so I have a background in that. And so while I was there, constantly volunteering and serving, I actually ran into a lady recently at a festival where she was like, "What's your name? I feel like I know you." 20 years ago,
Oh my
I
God.
was working with this lady. I don't remember how I met her, but I wanted to serve young ladies in the Orlando area. And I was going to UCF at this time. I decided to create this group called SWAT, Sisters Shaping Women of Tomorrow. And
Nice.
we were going out and volunteering in Paramore, Washington Shores area. And I met this lady, and I think she was at the Beta Center at that time. She was able to connect me with girls who were in need of this kind of mentoring. And so I had the girls that were part of my campus. We were going out there, we were mentoring these girls and doing activities with them and so forth. And that was all the way back then. This lady sees me this year at an event. I have not seen this woman in over 20 years.
Wow.
And she's like, "What's your name? I know you." And so then she goes, "One of us is getting old." I was like, "Well, I'm hitting, and I'm not afraid to say I'm 40 now, right?" And so she was like, "Okay, well, yeah, you're getting old." She's way older than me, Lord. But anyhow, it was great. And that was like really when I got involved. When I graduated from UCF, I started volunteering with Central Florida Urban League Young Professionals.
Okay.
What has been interesting to see is how many of us that were part of that time frame of Urban League Young Professionals have now gone on to start community programming and are very involved. And so I've known a lot of these people who are like our community partners for many, many years because they were out here serving the community. So it's kind of consistent that we've now evolved and started our own projects, but that's because we were always invested. We were seeing what's happening. We saw what was in need, and we decided to create a solution.
I love that, because that's really what it's about. A lot of people sometimes will say, "Oh, you have to build community in the areas that the areas that you're familiar with." But not really. As long as you have that heart for people and that commitment. Yeah. That's the key. Like commitment and consistency, folks. It's nothing else. You can do this. And I love that you're doing it. Like it wasn't ever something that you just didn't want to do. You made the commitment, and you've always followed through the charge. Yeah. As we kind of look at wrapping up, because I could talk to you for hours, which I love. I have a question, and then I'm going to ask you like I'm going to ask you like 3 more questions.
Okay.
First question: what do you want your legacy to be?
Yeah. I think this here is my legacy. I think what I want is for this to not just serve women here in Central Florida. I want this to be an opportunity to create a blueprint that could be replicated in other communities. And I want to know that I was able to turn what I had been through into something that is now serving women across the world. That is the legacy that I want to leave behind.
It's a beautiful legacy, and you're well on your way to that.
Thank you.
Question number 2, with everything that you've shared today, what's one thing that you would want my audience to know about you, or anyone who listens to this podcast to know about you that you haven't already said?
Yeah, I would say one of the things that I would encourage your audience to do is, as they are considering organizations to give their time to give their dollars to consider organizations that are smaller nonprofits in their community that are out here doing the work. I know there are amazing, really large nonprofits that we automatically think to write a check to, but start to look at some of those smaller groups that are out here. I mean, of course, we have Women on the Rise, but we have Stand Up Survivor that's doing amazing work with domestic violence victims. We have 8 Cents in a Jar that's doing amazing work with financial literacy for our youth. We have TGI, the Greatest Investment Girls Empowerment Program, that is doing amazing work with these young ladies in our community. There's just so many different nonprofits. I'm not even mentioning half of them, or nearly a percentage. But look into that. And I know for those that are, here in Central Florida, you have the Central Florida Foundation that has a platform where you can go and research different nonprofits. Most of us have a profile on there. Go and take a look and see places where you can serve. I have seen those who are, coming to retirement years who may not feel as much purpose. Their kids are all grown and they don't know what they're doing with their time. Volunteer.
Yeah.
There are so many of these smaller nonprofits that need help. Volunteer, right? Call them, reach out. They would love to hear from you. Dress for Success, another great nonprofit that we work with. That's a large nonprofit, but they're a local one under local leadership here. They're doing amazing work and they need help. So that's something that I may not have said earlier that I would encourage people to do.
No, I agree with that because I think we all have an opportunity to really serve. And like you said, some of the smaller nonprofits, it's not always about the name. It's about the work. The work speaks louder than the names a lot of times. So always appreciate that. And then my third and final question, how can we support you? Like, you're part of the family now. I was not kidding. Like, I will share, I will support, I will attend, I will donate. But how can we, what else can we do for you? What do you need us to do so we can help?
Okay, let's go through the list.
All right, come on, break it down, ma'am. The floor is yours.
Yeah, okay, so here's a few things that individuals can do to help support us and what we're doing. One, they can go to our website, which is wotrinc.org, and they could register to be on our newsletter. So usually there's a pop-up that'll come up, allow for them to put their name, email address, register to be a part of our newsletter so that you can stay abreast of what we have going on in the community. We have our career development cohort that we're doing right now for women in our community. Many of these women are at risk of the fiscal benefits cliff, meaning that if they receive an increase in their compensation, they could potentially be at risk of losing any financial assistance or community assistance that they receive now. But the amount or the increase in compensation does not offset the loss of those benefits. An example would be childcare assistance, right?
Right.
Many people cannot afford the cost of childcare. So by this program, we are looking for more mentors to serve, to be partnered with one of these young ladies for a period of 1 year. And that's just meeting for 1 to 2 hours per week. It could be virtually, but just to be that sounding board, that accountability partner for these ladies. So we're looking for more mentors. Thirdly, next month, we're going to be having a Friendsgiving meeting. It's an opportunity to come learn more about Women on the Rise. We will have a membership drive that will offer some discounts on our membership that we've never done before. It is also a time when we will be accepting donations as well. We're always accepting donations.
I don't blame you.
But it's going to be kind of like our Giving Tuesday, right? This will be our intentional time to ask for that help. When we do a raffle, which we do them at times to help fundraise, share it. Donate that $10, girlfriend. Help us out. It makes a big difference. We are able to do the programming that we're doing to help serve our younger girls by giving scholarships, by doing the career development program. Another goal for ours is to do an entrepreneurship cohort. And so we're trying to find a partner that will help us with funding in that capacity. So also, if you're in a room and you hear them talking about wanting to invest in some programs, think of Women on the Rise. That is how our partnerships have come about. Someone sharing, well, Women on the Rise is doing that. Well, Women on the Rise is focused on that. You should consider them, because as much as you might see our branding around, many people do not know we exist. So giving us that opportunity to have that platform, to share our name, share what we're doing, so that we have the opportunity to create this in our community, that would be absolutely amazing. And so that support would be greatly appreciated.
No, I appreciate it. I definitely will be participating and signing up as well, because I definitely want to be more active. And so things are kind of scheduling out. And so
Yeah.
I'm ready and to support anyway. And I will be more than happy to have you back and
Yeah.
work with you and collaborate with you in any way I can. So I really want to thank you. Thank you for giving me this boost today. You have no idea how much I needed it. Thank you. Thank
I
you.
love it. This is
And I'm
an
honored.
absolute honor. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you, to have this conversation, to share our message. It was the energy that I needed as well today. So I thank you.
Awesome. I'm so glad. You were just amazing. So guys, I'm going to put all of Arlene's information in the show notes, and I will break it out the way that you're talking about. So we'll talk about, I might need you to email me back or just
Yeah.
tell me what to copy and paste, and I'll get it on there for you so we can have everyone knowing about it. So I really, again, want to thank you for taking the time, because I know your schedule is crazy, and I really appreciate you blessing us with your energy. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And so, guys, that's the episode this week. I will make sure Arlene's information is in the show notes. My information is in the show notes as well. I'll be back next week with a new episode. And I hope you guys take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.